Hi, all you fellow gardeners. We are Mr. Weedman, and this is Big Earl here with the Weedman 420 Chronicles Grow Hour. Big Earl, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing really well, man. How are you doing?
Man, I'm fired up. You want to know why we're starting this new show? You and I, brother. New
Yeah.
show. I love it. Now, just to let you all know, Mrs. Weedman didn't leave me. We're still here. We're still doing the Wee Man 420 Chronicles podcast every week for y'all. But Big Girl and I have become friends over the last few years, and we talked about doing some stuff together. And we started the Weed Man 420 Chronicles Grow Hour. And I am so fired up to be doing with this show with Big Girl because he has mentored and coached me over the last couple of years. And since we've met, and we'll tell the story in a second, but he's mentored and coached me over the last couple of years and helped me with my grow. And I'm so excited. Big Girl, man, tell them who you are. You've been on the show a few times, but tell them who you are, brother. Why we're doing this fucking show. I'm super stoked, and then you and I are gonna get high, high, high.
Yeah. My name's Big Earl. I go by Earl217 online. That's my Instagram. But a lot of people call me Big Earl. I have been growing weed for a long time now. It started about 2010 was my very first little self-feeding in the closet, flooded it out, freaking out that the landlord was going to come in kind of stuff. Um, then I got on it what I would call like more of a professional level about 6 years ago now. I've been running my own 72 here. It's a caregiver license here in Michigan while helping a larger cannabis facility down in Southern Illinois, running a larger facility up here for a while. My parents have a hemp farm that I help them with all their operations and get all their stuff going. So I have my toes a little bit everywhere. And what kind of got me into this expert realm was this shop I work at here. Really, my job there was literally fixing gardens. So we had a super strong caregiver, especially when I was at the shop. Community around us, they'd come in every day. It was like a Cheers episode. You see the same people 4 times a week. Half the times they're not buying anything. They're
Did you
just
have a Did you have a norm? Did you have a norm?
a few. A few. We had people, wives would come in. I know this motherfucker's here. Whoa, whoa. Calm down now. But it was great, dude, and I loved it. I met a lot of everybody there had been growing for a really long time. They taught me a ton, and I came in with the perfect time to where science could start teaching too. So I was able to get a lot of these old school techniques and philosophies, and able to learn at the same time some of the new stuff that we've been finding in labs and really testing for.
Old school meets new school. It's good school right there.
Good school, good school.
So, listening to us is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have some guests on. We're going to have some breeders on. We're going to have some cultivators on. We're going to have just some good old people who love to grow weed on this show, and we're super stoked. And I'm excited. And let's smoke. Let's get high.
Yeah,
We can't do the rest of the show without being high. So I'm smoking some orange Hawana, and this is a strain because it's the High Times Cannabis Cup. It's not my own. This is by Rhythm. It's orange Hawana. It's a hybrid. It is a CBD THC ratio though hybrid, which I like. It runs about 31% total cannabinoids, but about 13% CBDA, and a little bit about 17% THCA, and then a little bit of THC and a little bit of CBD. Smells like a fucking orange whip. It's delicious. It's a good strain. Wet. First wet nug I've gotten in this state in Illinois to date. So pretty impressive. It's nice. I'm gonna take a rip while my friend Big Earl tells you what he's smoking on.
yeah, just hit some GMO. It's a classic now. I think people have been growing it for a few years, and a lot of people, when you see it, that funk, a lot of that new stuff is the GMO. They call it the garlic, mushroom, and onion. But the dude who bred it said that he named it just because it's a really vigorous plant. And it grew like it was GMO, even though it wasn't. You see anything labeled garlic, mushroom, or onion, garlic breath is a GMO cross. Super funky, trashy terps. Delicious.
Nice, nice. I love it. And what are you smoking out of tonight? I'm smoking out of an 8 decade steamroller. What are you smoking your famous joint that you like to roll?
No, I just got this little those joints. We're trying to talk about stuff. Those joints get me real stoned.
Stony baloney.
Wasting people's time. But just a
Save
little
that for
pipe I picked up
after
at the
show.
local shop.
Oh, nice. I love it. I love it. So we're super stoked. So let me tell you the story, though, how Big Earl and I met. And a couple of years ago, I worked for a beer company, and a mutual friend worked for a distributor. He's a sales manager down in Effingham, Illinois. And his name is Mo. I'm going to give him a shout out because I love the guy. And introduced me and Big Earl on a text message because I went down there to do basically a quarterly business plan with him and go over numbers. A lot of fun. And so we were talking about the podcast that I was doing with Mrs. Weedman, and we are talking about my grow, and I was showing him pictures. It was like my second grow, my first grow. I think it was my first grow, and I was showing him pictures. He's like, "Dude, I got to introduce you to my buddy, Big Earl." And I'm like, who is he? He goes, oh man, he's a guy I've known for years. You know, he will change your world and he will wreck shop on you with what he grows. I said, well, where is he? Is he local? He's let's go see him. He's like, no, man, he lives in Michigan. He's a caregiver. So what Mo did, he kind of sent just a text to both of us, and then Big Girl started sending me pictures of his grow, and I was like, I need to learn from this guy, and I want to smoke what he has because that shit looks fucking phenomenal. So fired up. So you and I connected through text, and then we connected through Instagram, and then we became friends through Instagram, and then for like I don't even know. Mrs. Weeman's like, have you ever like personally met Big Earl or actually talked to him live on the phone? I'm like, actually, no. It's just all DMing and all emails and all text messages. She goes, you ever gonna meet him? I said, we've talked about it. I've talked about coming to Michigan and coming to visit him and seeing his grow and looking real excited. So we finally called each other on the phone. I said, hey, I'm driving through to Detroit. How about I stop by where you live and come smoke with you, man? Bring you some goodies, and I brought you some cushy rolls, and brought you one of the nugs that from the seeds that you sent me. I called the Weedman 420 uh, experimental strain. I think you called it Louis One or something like that. So, and I bought you a nug of it and some edibles and that Mrs. Weedman made, and then you took me to your grow room, and it was love at first sight. I mean, just the love of the friendship, the love of the community, the love of just you and I talking for 2 years, but never actually really meeting face to face, and then finally getting to smoke a big fat joint together. That you got me so stony, so baloney. I was couch locked with your three beautiful dogs just chilling with me. It was awesome, and your grow setup is absolutely fire. Everything. So that's how we kind of met, and all in a nutshell. But it was just been a good friendship ever since, and I want to thank you for all the help on the podcast with bringing some of the guests on like you have, DVG and Umami, and yourself being on a couple times, and just helping me over the last couple of years get better as a grower, get better as a gardener, get better as just learning more and more about the plant. And I appreciate you, man. I'm so stoked about doing this show.
Oh yeah, anytime, man. I appreciate you too. I'm really excited as well. I when Mo got a hold of me, he said, "Oh, listen to this podcast." I said, "Yeah, I'll listen to the podcast. That's fun." And that was back. I think when we talked, it was like your first few episodes, like 6 episodes. You didn't uh, Mrs. We
Yeah, it was early.
get on there, yeah. And so and everything's been so fun and great. And me and the wife always throw it on. She likes listening to it also. So thank you, dude. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm really excited to talk and let people learn, hopefully.
Yeah, learn, educate, little comedy, and just the cannabis community getting together and just telling us. Here's the thing too. We're here to help. I've always said this is with the We Man 420 Chronicles. We are here to educate. We're learning to help others learn. That's been my big thing. From day one, I'm always learning. That's the only way I'm going to get better is by learning. So I'm super stoked to learn more, to help other people learn more, and I mean, some people are going to have questions, and don't be afraid to send us to DM us or email us, and we'll give you our handles at the end of the show. But we want people to send us questions too. So, and we'll feature your question on a show, and we'll say your name, where you're from. You let us know if you're cool with that, and what your question is, and hopefully Big Earl and myself can answer it. So we're going to talk about some tips and some of Big Earl's tips to get started. And this is going to take us to episode 2, but this is just some little tidbits. So here's the first question. So do you really, really, really want to grow weed? or you just like the idea? Big Earl, what are these tips, man, we're talking about here? Explain to our listeners around the world, because this is going to help them out to get us going and set the stage for what's coming next.
Sure, yeah. So, question number one, like I have friends who approach me pretty often, especially when I first started, like when I first started getting where I could say, hey, I'm pretty serious about doing this. You know, my medicines were higher grade than the rest. Oh, I want to do that. So, well, I get it. It's really cool. I want to build an engine. Not that this is that hard, but I'm just saying that it's you got to really say, do I want to do this? Do I have the time? Do I have the money? And because cannabis is something that's it's easy to grow. It's really hard to grow really well. And so, if you're very passionate about cannabis but don't have the time, don't have the money, maybe it's something where you say, I need to just find that caregiver that's right for me. I need to find that other person that has the time to grow, or I need to find that dispensary if you're lucky enough to be around something like that. Um, but it's really a living, growing thing, and for you to get the top grade medicine, it's about growing the best medicines, the best atmosphere, all that. But it's also about knowing the best strains or knowing the new stuff. If you want to change your flavors, it's about keeping up on the new information, the new lights, the new pest controls, the new everything.
Yeah, and we talked one time, you and I said, here's the thing. If you don't have the time or the money to grow, find somebody who grows. They're everywhere. Especially if you're in a state that's legal and it's legal to grow, they're everywhere. And start a collaborative with that person. Say, hey, listen, I will find some seeds and buy some seeds for us to grow, and I'll invest in your system too, and I'll help you upgrade, or I'll help you get a bigger tent if you have the room and all that kind of stuff. You grow the seeds that I'm going to give you. You get to keep 80, 90, even if it's a 70-30 thing, you keep 70% because your electric, your water, your nutrients, everything you're spending the money on. I just want, if you get one plant and it gets you 3 ounces, give me an ounce, you keep two, or we split it, however you want to do it. And find that person to help you grow. And then once every couple of weeks, come by the house. And if you need some help, the fun part will be for you is if you can't do it and someone's growing for you, come and help them trim. The worst job ever. Come and help them do that. Especially if they got like 20, 30 plants, and that's a lot of bud, man, to trim. I tell you what, I only usually grow 2 to 3, so that's not so bad. But Big Girl, you've told me some stories about trimming. How many hours you put into trimming your bud? Because you're by yourself, right? When you're doing it.
Trim jail is what we call it. Man, and it used to be worse. When I first moved to Michigan, I worked with three other caregivers, and we all had our own garden. And when we'd pull down a garden, it would be 18-hour days of trimming, 4 days in a row, and we'd get it all done. And then we'd have
So
2 or 3 weeks, and it'd be 18-hour day every
Ugh.
month. We'd have to do that.
So that's what I'm saying. So offer to help trim, offer to help hang, offer to help come back and jar and cure it. And here's another cool thing: if that person needs to go out of town for a couple of days and he's taught you what just needs to be done, like he doesn't have the filtration system, he just hand waters like me and all the, you know, his garden, or she, you know, or they have it. Say, go on vacation. If you don't mind me coming over your house, I'll go and check the plants. I'll check the temp. I'll check the water. I'll make sure it's all, just leave everything out in notes, what I need to do, and I'll make sure your plants are good. That's another way to do a collaborative. Sometimes people need to go on vacation. If you're gone want to take a 10-day vacation, you got plants in the hopper. Ooh. Unless you're on an automated system, and
Yeah,
that still ain't good to leave your plants for 10 days. So
it's rolling
find
this
that
way for
person.
sure.
Be a babysitter. Be a little girl babysitter. you
Hey,
know?
it's definitely a needed thing. I mean, my garden setup right now, I can leave for 7 days before I have a reservoir, but not leave. I don't have to change a reservoir for 7 days if I don't want to. But things get clogged, things break, like the craziest little thing. There's so many things that go into creating a perfect atmosphere. One little thing, and it's like, oh, wish I was here for that one.
Yeah, and then you know what though too, Big Girl, you like mentored and coached me that person gets mentored and coached by. So one day maybe he gets more passionate and then says, you know what? I want to have a tent. I want to buy the equipment. Now I'm ready to go. Now you have two collaboratives going. Then you got more weed for everybody.
Sure. And
You know?
sometimes too, it might just be your situation. You might be living with parents. You might be in an apartment where it's strictly in the lease, and you got a kid. You can't fuck around and get evicted for. So sometimes you
100%.
might have the passion. You might just need your homie's basement.
That's it. And then share. Sharon's caring. You know what I'm saying? So what are some of the fads that if a stoner can do it, a burner, a pothead can do it, like me and you? What's the
Yeah,
mentality, man? Tell people what's up.
yeah. I think that's kind of been the mentality that in general people outside of the industry have had. That's why we find ourselves in the position with all this. We have a ton of money. We got these multi 20, 30, 50 million dollar facilities, and they can't keep a clean garden. And they have gardeners there. They have all, but it's they're looking at it as, oh, if a stoner can do it, this lazy stoner can do it. I can.
There's no lazy stoners.
It's
That
yeah.
they're just lazy people. There's no such thing. I'm you and me are burner stoners and potheads. There is no lazy stoner. There's just lazy people.
That's what
Remember that, everybody out there in the world.
you
You're
can't.
not lazy, big girl, and you're a stoner, and you fucking work your ass off. So everybody out there, he's got to care for. He's a caregiver. He makes medicine for people. He works every day. How many hours you put in your grow again?
Every day, at least 4 hours, at least. Many days, way more trimming. Like it's and that's
No
that's
lazy
just in the
stoner.
garden. That's just in the garden, right? You got to go get your equipment. You got to fix stuff. You got to, like you never know, and you're staying at home waiting for the AC guy for 4 hours because now you got three ACs, not just one.
Right. And like you say, you smoke your own weed that you're growing, you're gonna care and love it more. You know what I'm saying? Um, maybe just the average weeks. Gardeners get stuck. You know, what is your average week? Like you said, you put 4 hours, maybe more into it a day, but the average week on a grow your size. But what about somebody like myself? I'm a very avid gardener. I have a small 4x6. No, I'm 2x4x5 tent. I have two plants in there right now. I spend time on that thing. I do. I spend a lot of time not just caring for it, but also looking at it. I love looking at I love looking at them. I just love looking at the plant. It just makes me happy. Like I've said before, it's my zen. But somebody like myself, an avid grower, a home grower, a home gardener, just getting started, or what's the week would look like? Like I know what my week is. I have it all in my notes. I keep track in my iPhone on my notes. So every day it's about an hour a day, religiously, maybe sometimes two, but an hour a day in the morning. Water them if they need water. Check the pH, make sure my humidifier is full, make sure everything in my room is on and working correctly, and then give anything a wipe down from any moisture on the sides from the humidifier. I wipe that down if there's any puddles or anything like that. So, I mean, hour in the morning, and then throughout the day, probably another 10 minutes here, 30 minutes there, checking on the temperature. I check on the temperature a lot because it's very hard in a house, when you have a small little grow room in the back of your basement and the air is not, there's no ventilation back there, so you got to go and check all the time, and making sure it's staying at that temperature I want it at. And so if somebody like myself, I would honestly say it's every day. It's a 7 day a week. It's a 7 day a week garden. First and foremost, everybody, it's 7 days a week. Would you agree, Big Earl?
Yeah. If it's not 7 days a week, you're taking a gamble every day. You're not looking. You
Right.
know. So
And I'm saying at least an hour to 90 minutes to 2 hours a day is me. Maybe I might not need to do that all the time. Some people only might have an hour a day, and that's fine. But religiously, it's like 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not a hobby for me. It's my medicine. I love it. Some people would call it a hobby. It's not a hobby for me because I give this away to people too. And I care. One day I'm gonna have a nice big grow room, but for right now, it's what I have. But it gets me what I need. It gets me my medicine. I grew 9 ounces on 3 plants one time, which was great. And I'm still smoking that because it just
yeah,
so we're having curing and have it sealed, and so I mean, and I've given so much of that away to people. I'd probably give away 3 ounces of that and push some to edibles. So you get those kind of that reward. There is a reward at the end of the tunnel. When you go and you're cutting it down and you're putting it and you're drying it and then you're curing it and then you're trimming it again, then you're smoking a fat joint when it's wet as hell because you don't even. I don't know about you, but I always try it when I'm cutting it. I always do. after it's dried for how long I keep it in my tent to dry. When I'm cutting it to go in the jars to cure the Maillard bags, I'm telling you, I grind some up and put some put some in a joint, or I put some in my bong, or I always have to smoke it day one. I want to know what that's like, and I know it's wet and I know it's sticky, but I still get baked. I still get high. I might not be the high I get after it's been cured properly, but I still get baked. And it's wet, sticky, icky, and I love it. I want to know what it tastes like from the time until the end. Right?
Sure.
Do
Yeah, I've
you-
done that before for sure. Um, I typically would do it more like it's drying, and I'm like, man, it really has a few days, but I'm gonna just try this real
oh, every week I'm grabbing a little nipper.
quick.
Every week when I'm opening those jars up, every once a week I'm taking just a little. I have that jar, that one jar where I'm test. It's a test every week to see how it gets, and just only because I want to know the strength. I'm not getting my weed tested at a lab. I've only done that once, and I'm not spending the money to do it. So I can really tell it's gotten better each week until the 6 weeks, and then actually smoking it today, where it's like, whoa, okay, man, I'm pretty pretty stony baloney. I'm baked, and this is where I want to be at. So you just know the trajectory of how that bud's gonna go for you by me trying it every week. That's how I test my shit.
Sure. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, that you kind of, especially if you are familiar with the plant, you say, hey, this is right on point. Usually, take this. This is the flavor it's giving me. This is what's going on, and yeah, I can definitely see that. With my garden, I'm generally firing out like 24 plants. So it's not. I don't have a huge garden. Um, I get up in the morning. I pH everything. I check the pH. I shouldn't say I pH everything. I like my pH to fluctuate, so I just check it. I only have to change it a few times a week. I walk through everything and check on them. I got my ABCs going. Always be cloning. I check.
I love that. I fucking love that because I always be closing, always be cloning. That's oh, dude.
That's the ABC
Oh,
cannabis. If you're keeping a mom around, if you got plants going, you always need to have something. Mom might be getting a little too big. You got a round coming up. You got a table coming up. You're doing a project. You got homies needing plants. Something. You better get some clones going.
I love it. I love it. I actually got. I think I was texting you. I got some clones off these. I'm growing. I did a trim, and I gotta go get some rock wool and put them in tomorrow. I was supposed to go today and I didn't, but they're in water right now, like in cups of water with a little cloning material in there. So, but tomorrow, if I don't get those in rock wool, probably by tomorrow, I'm gonna screw those up. So, I don't have the room though to see what happens. I never got a chance to really clone because I've told you I got that small tent, but I'm gonna try and see what happens, and then go from there. Because I only got one seed of each of these, so I didn't get a bunch. It came one seed in a pack, and yeah, so I had to clone these and try to get some more weed out of it because I don't know when I'm ever gonna see these strains again. So
It's always fun.
talk,
Clone
yeah.
flower.
I cannot wait to have a big tent so I can clone.
Yep.
I'm super stoked about learning how to do that. The love, the love of growing. You know, tell me about it, man. You've been doing it for 12 years now. You gotta love it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's what we talk about, this the fad of it. The stoner can do it. People are misplacing that. If a stoner can do it, is do we have enough love to do this right? Because that's really what it is. You have to love the medicine. You have to love what you're doing. Love the plant. It's a relationship you have to go into. Like if you're just going in like, man, I hate being here. I don't even care what this pH is. I hate being here. I'm not even. You got to look. You got to really. I don't want bugs, so I'm going to be looking literally every day to make sure I don't have to spray something when I'm in flower, to make sure I don't have to do something or lose a crop because I won't do something. So um, if you don't have the love for the cannabis, we're back to step A.
Why do you want to grow weed?
I'm going to grow weed. This is
I
so.
love it. No, it's true. It's true. Because we were talking before we started recording the show too about the old school and new school. The traditional grower that's been doing it the same way over and over and again. But then there's new ways to grow and new traditions and new. I mean, did you ever get stuck on this, or have you like evolved in your time of growing? Have you been able to like say I've done it this way, but now I want to try this way. I've done these nutrients and now I want to start with these nutrients. I've actually created my own nutrients too. So, I want to use these and see how they compare to some of my older nutrients. Do gardeners get stuck, or is it just like they just get compliant and they don't want to change. They don't like change.
Yeah, I think there's those two sides, and there's no gray area. That's a huge thing in this community. I think we have the old school gardener who has tried maybe just a few methods and really perfected one. Maybe has tried a ton of methods. Me being at the shop, I had reps come in. They'd give me all this free nutrients to try. I've tried any line that's come out that's not come out in the last year. I don't know the lines that came out in the last year, but anything before that, I've probably tried it. That's where like you mentioned before, I am doing my own line now. We're in our final testing. I'm going to send you some stuff.
Hell yeah, I'm excited.
New part. I'm very excited. One of my
I'm
partners.
excited for you.
Yeah, dude. One of my partners is and he's a chemist, and so when we talk about like, oh, it's very fun working with him because I say, I want to do this. He says, well, we can't do this at this ratio because you're gonna have this and this happen, and then you're gonna have these things happen, and you can put this kind of nitrogen in, but you can't put this kind of nitrogen in because if you put this nitrogen in, a 3 would only represent getting 3 peas, and if you put this nitrogen, 3 would represent getting 3 steaks. That's how he described it to me because I'm not understanding. I'm like, all right, dude, I get it now. I get it, And so he's going. I loved it. I love going through all of it. But the big difference in our community right now is everything new. We have all of the education, and they come in at it's science, and it's awesome because we've never been able to do that. But they are lacking some things that these old school growers are really good at. And these old school growers are lacking some of this knowledge that these new school growers, that these science growers have. And I am really excited for this show because one of the things I really hope to do is not only explore a lot of that new stuff, because a lot of that older stuff, when I was at the shop, everybody I worked with was old school grower. That was like the techniques I was taught.
The
And,
OGs, man.
yeah, and
Give it
then
up.
these new podcasts, these books come out. They're all actually cannabis based, and I get to read these, and I get to go over a lot of these different theories. And oh, this is why you want to do this, and oh, I've never tried this before. I wonder. And so I'm really excited to go over that with you and on this show. I'm excited for everybody's questions, and I'm excited to learn and grow and continue to do experiments and see how my garden reacts to the new theories and sciences.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, with people we're gonna have on, there's gonna be some OG growers listening that are probably gonna call us out on a couple things. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting their questions. I'm looking forward to getting a little beat up a little bit. But you know what? It's all about learning. So there's gonna be OG growers listening. There's gonna be new school growers listening, and I love it. And I'm super stoked. So, what are some of the things we're gonna be talking about on this podcast in the future? And just the money, the time, the grow space, the available power, all the kind of stuff in the beginning phases. But what are some of the things on the next episode too that we're gonna be doing? So the listeners know to come back. You all need to come back and listen. Now I'm really high because I took another hit. So
Yeah. So one thing I am excited about is every episode we're going to kind of leave you with something to go do. If you have a garden and you're trying to listen along with the episode. So like our next episode, for instance, now that you kind of know who we are, where we're coming from, what we're trying to do, our next episode is going to be going over your grow space. The different things to look for in that grow space, power availability, what type of power, how much, the time and the money we already talked about. And we're going to give the different ways you can do the different things. So if you have a closet to work with, we're going to tell you some techniques. And if you have a 50-foot warehouse by 20-foot tall, 50-foot by 50-foot room, you'll be able to learn some stuff too.
which Big Earl has done.
Yeah,
So
much
he's done it.
My largest, I don't call it consulting, I call it like garden management, but my largest was a 200,000 square foot, not 200,000, yes, 200,000 square foot of canopy garden there in Illinois. So I have I haven't, built any of them out. I haven't been to a ton of them, but I ran one for a while, not quite that big, and I helped that one. I still work with them. I've been working with them for the last 6 or 7 months, and we've been doing really good stuff. So I'm really excited to get into this with everybody. I'm really excited to go over the possibilities, to go over the mediums, to go over everything. And a little example on here, and I just wanted to leave people with a tip. Is the biggest problem that I see in a new gardener is overwatering. If you are using a typical medium, which is peat moss based, a typical medium like a potting medium, uh, the watering, the pot needs to be pretty dry. Drooping doesn't equal overwatering. And a lot of people see a plant, they say, "Oh, overwatering." So more is not always better with all this. When you do more nutrients, more light, more air, sometimes you can cause problems. So for the next episode, guys, just go look at your spaces. If you're thinking of growing, if you want to get bigger, if you want to change, if you want to redo your room a little bit, just think of the spaces, think of the power you have, think of any money or time you want to be spending on this, and we'll come out and give you some different options to look at, some different pricings, and some different just techniques you can learn and hopefully grow the best quality medicine with what you have.
Sweet. I'm excited now too. Hopefully everybody out there in the world's excited. And Big Earl and I, man, we're gonna do this show once a month to start. And we might, if we have guests on, it might be twice a month or 3 times. We're just gonna work it in. And it could be starting once a week here. We're just starting out. So come back and listen to us. I think you're going to enjoy it. I think you're going to learn a lot. You're going to have a lot of fun, especially if you get one of your questions answered on the show. That's going to be really fun. And we're going to have some sponsors too, which we're really excited to get you guys some good stuff out there to help you grow. Super stoked about that. And I want to say, Big Girl, thanks for sending me those dog treat recipe with the whole entire setup kit. That thing is friggin' dope. We haven't made them yet. Mrs. Weedman's the baker of the house. I'm not. I don't measure anything. So she's the baker. So I will let you know how much Yuki will love those biscuits when we make them for her. I'm stoked for her to try them. So yeah, I thank you. And Big Earl's gonna be these kits are dope. He sent me one to take a look at it. It's pretty cool. So I'm excited about the dog treats, man. It's gonna be dope.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. That's straight CBD, all flower from Foxtail Enterprises. So that's my parents' CBD farm that I help take care of down in Illinois. So
Yeah, beautiful plants, by the way, too. You sent me some pics. I think I posted them on Weedman 420 Chronicles stories on Grow Show Your Grow Fridays. Yeah, there was some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful CBD plants. So, and then you're gonna be learning about CBD too. CBD is a little different of a plant. We've talked about it, so it'll be fun to learn how to grow that too. So, you get questions about CBD. If CBD is allowed in your state, but not THC, we can also teach you how to grow some CBD.
yeah,
So,
I don't know.
once again, everybody out in the world, thanks for listening. 8decades.com. That's Mr. Weedman's handle. You can find Mr. and Mrs. Weedman on that. Big Earl, give them your handles, brother, in your email.
Yeah, I'm Earl217's my personal Instagram. I got the Regal Beagle. That's I am the Regal Beagle on Instagram, and the email is thatregalbeagle@gmail. Um, guys, don't forget more CalMag.
Don't forget the CalMag. Everybody, we love you out in the world. Have a great night. Smoke big fat doinks. Peace.